Hello, I'm Alicia Dolan, a Stampin' Up! Independent demonstrator. Thank you for joining me tonight in my Stampin' Corner. In this Stampin' Sunday video, we are going to be making a cute ice cream card with a fun surprise inside. So as you're watching the video, if you like this video and you could hit the like button, that would be great. If you want to see more videos like this, please hit the subscribe button. Let's head over to our stamping space and get started. All right, now that we've moved over to our stamping space, let's get started putting our cards together. I have gone through tonight and prepared some of the pieces in advance, so hopefully this video will move along a little faster than some of the past videos. So let me know in the comments if you like this version better or if you'd rather see all the details worked out individually. So because I think we'll save a little bit of time, we'll be putting together 2 cards tonight instead of just one. Let's start with the Terracotta tile card. And this card, the card that we're making tonight, both cards feature the Sweet Ice Cream stamp set bundle, which comes with a stamp set and a punch. So here is the stamp set, and this is the ice cream builder punch. So to begin our terracotta tile card, we can slide our pieces to the side and set our sample card aside. We're going to start with a piece of cardstock. This is terracotta tile again. And this piece of cardstock measures 8.5 by 5.5. It's a regular 8.5 by 11 cut in half. And so now along the long side, we are going to score that card at 4 1/4. And then we can crease that in half, and we'll use our bone folder to smooth out that, that crease. And next we are going to take a piece of our ice cream designer series paper, and this paper has 2 sides. So here is one side and here's the other. The full pack comes with 12 sheets, 2 each of 6 designs, and each side is a different design. So first we're going to take our piece of, well, it looks kind of like wiggly waves paper, maybe. So this piece is cut to 2 inches by 5 1/4. So we're going to flip that to the other side, add a little bit of our adhesive, and I'm using the Tombow liquid glue. You can also use Stampin' Seal or Stampin' Seal Plus, whatever your adhesive of choice is. And I do a thin line around the outside and then a squiggle down the middle. Whenever you're working with liquid glue, you only want to use the bare minimum because it is very sticky and it's a wet glue. And since you're working with paper, you really don't want it to be too wet or it'll wrinkle up. So we're going to place that right along the front on the right hand side of our card. Next we have a piece of basic white that measures 3 1/4 by 4 1/4. And we have another piece of our ice cream designer series paper, and this piece of paper measures 3 by 4. And we're going to layer this on top. And in general, when you're layering rectangles, you want, I generally go up about 1/4 inch. So if you were to take this and measure, each layer up generally ends up measuring 1/4 of an inch. And I'm going to use my liquid glue again and just go a thin line around the edge and then a squiggle down the middle. And I always put the cap right back on my glue because it does dry out pretty fast. And I don't want the nozzle to clog up. So we're going to center that on our piece of white and glue that down. All right, and we're going to turn that over, and on the back side of this, we are going to add some Stampin' Dimensionals. And I think what I have left in my pack right now is these small ones. So these are the mini Stampin' Dimensionals. They work the same way as the regular size. So I'll put one dimensional near each corner, not right in the corner. I like to keep them on the inside just a little bit. So one on each corner and then one in the middle. And I just find that stops the middle from flattening out. It's a small detail, but it's one of those things that you might notice. So then we'll turn that over and try to place that in about the middle. So that looks good. And next, we're going to stamp our saying on here. And on this card, we're going to stamp Treat Yourself. So these are photopolymer stamps. And when you're stamping with a photopolymer stamp, you want to have a foam surface underneath. So I like to use the Stampin' Pierce mat from Stampin' Up, and I just cut a small piece of grid paper to put over the top of that while I'm stamping, just because it helps me to line things up a little better. And we'll use a clear block, and this is block D. So we'll line our stamp up so that it's even, and then line our block up, and we will put our piece of white paper, and this piece of white measures 1.5 inches by 2 1/4. And then we'll use our Tuxedo Black Memento ink to ink up our stamp. And when you're inking up your stamp, you want to keep your stamp pad or your stamp, whichever one you're lifting and pressing, you want to keep it fairly even, fairly level. I shouldn't say even, I'm not sure. Okay, and then we're going to line up in the center, and we'll press down firmly but gently. You don't want to rock your stamp because then you could end up with smudgy edges. So there is our stamped image, and we can move that mat aside. Now we'll take our piece of terracotta tile that is 1 3/4 by 2 1/2. Turn our stamped image over, and again we're going to use our adhesive to attach them together. Thin line around the outside, and then a squiggle in the middle. And I'll carefully turn that over and center it kind of in the middle. And the nice thing about the liquid glue, I know I've said before, is that you can, if it's not exactly in the center, you have just a little time to move it around before it dries so that it's permanent. All right, so there is that. And we're going to adhere that right down in the corner of this. So a little more glue around the edges, and then a squiggle in the middle. And we're going to line that up so that it's down in that bottom corner. And next we are going to punch out our ice cream cone. And so here is the front side of this ice cream sweet paper. And whenever we're using a punch, it is the easiest if we turn it upside down and line it up where we want it to go, because we don't want to waste our paper. And if this was a larger piece of paper, say like this size paper, we wouldn't want to just punch anywhere, because then we end up with a cone that we probably won't use if it's not the right color. So here is our ice cream top. And this little piece is going to be the cone. This is another piece of that ice cream designer series paper. And it's kind of a small piece, so I have to finagle it in there a little bit, just so that it gets in the right spot. And then we'll just punch that out. And now we can glue our ice cream cone together. We're just going to put a little bit of glue at the top of the cone. And we'll just lay that ice cream right on the top. Let it dry for a second. Oh, I got a little bit of glue on my grid paper. So then we'll turn it over and put a couple Stampin' dimensionals on the back. There are two. Peel their paper off. And then we can turn those over and put them on the front. And as cute as that is, we are going to add to it just a little bit by adding this part that goes in the middle. So we're going to take our piece of white that measures 1 inch by 11, and we're going to score it in 3 places. Okay, this is our piece of 11 by 1 white paper. We're going to score it at 2 3/4. So we'll line it up right here. And then we are going to move it along to 5 1/2 and score it there. And then one more time to 8 1/4 and score it there. Now we're going to fold this into the shape of an M or a W, depending on how you look at it. Okay, so it looks just like this. And we're going to put some glue along one side. And now we're going to measure that out so that it's, the first one I did in the middle, but this one I think I'll do a little bit closer to the top. So if I go down, let's see, maybe here. I'm going to line it up so that it doesn't stick out of that edge, but it's just inside. And glue it down there. Then I'll put some glue on the other side. Oops. Kind of scooting it all around tonight. And line it up just inside this edge. And there we have our fun little pop out. And then I've already pre-punched my ice cream cones. So we'll glue those together. There's our little ice cream cones, and we'll turn them over. I keep forgetting that I put a little glue on my mat there. And we'll add a little Stampin' Dimensional to each one of these. Kind of in the middle. Peel off their backs, and then we can attach them up here on our little pop out. Three cute little cones. And then you can, there's plenty of space over here to stamp another message or write out whatever you want to say. So there is our first card, all the way finished. And let's work on the second one. So the second color that I used was Bermuda Blue or Bermuda Bay. And so we're going to follow a similar process. We are going to score our piece of 8.5 by 5.5 at 4 1/4. Fold it over and use our bone folder to smooth out that crease. And for this one, we're going to use this side of this ice cream paper next. And this piece of paper, this designer series piece of paper, it measures 2 by 5 1/4. So we'll adhere that to the front. And we'll try to get it lined up with the edge. Usually so that it's about 1/8 of an inch in. And then press it down nice. And next we're gonna take our piece of 3 1/4 by 4 1/4 white, and we're gonna put our piece of 3 by 4 designer series paper on top. It's always nice to have a card that has just a couple layers. Okay, so we're just gonna line that up in the center of our piece of basic white and glue that down. Okay, then we'll flip that over real quick. Add our Stampin' dimensionals to each corner. And again, these are the mini ones. There is a size larger than this. I'm just out of those right now. And then one in the center. So one on each corner and one in the center. That'll help it stay nice and lifted up from the face of the card. Just gives our card a little more depth or definition. So we'll put that in the center and glue it down. Now on this one, I have already cut out a label from the Painted Label dies. This is one of my favorite labels, but I am going to show you really quick how to cut out one of these dies using the Big Shot machine or the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. Works in a very similar fashion. So let me move my mat out of the way real quick. And this is the Big Shot. The newer version of this is called the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. So for this one, we use the multi-purpose platform and then the standard cutting plate. We're going to take a piece of cinnamon cider and lay it on the cutting plate. And next we put our die down with the raised edge towards the paper. So it goes this way. Whoops. And then we place the next plate on top. So you have to use 2 plates, and then when you turn the handle, it should go right through. And when it comes out the other side, we can just pick that up. And our die is all cut out for us. So let's set that aside for now and finish putting our Bermuda Bay ice cream card together. Okay, So let me get my mat back over here. And I'm going to remember to watch out for that little sticky spot right there. Maybe I can rub it off a little bit. At least I can see where it is now. Okay, so here's our card. We have our background. We have I cut out two background labels. And here's the label that we're going to use on the top. So here's my Stampin' Pierce mat. And remember, when you're using photopolymer, you do want to have a foam mat of some sort to stamp on. It makes a big difference in the quality of your image at the end. Now, it can be a Stampin' Pierce mat, or it can be a piece of foam. You can use the foam that comes with the Stamparatus. Any of those will work, but you definitely want a piece of foam in there somewhere. Okay, and this time we are going to use our thank you image. So we'll line that up so that on our grid paper so that it looks nice and straight. And then we can line up our block. I'm using the same block, the block D, so that that's fairly straight. And we will get our Memento black ink out, Memento Tuxedo black. And remember, you want to tap, tap, tap on your stamp until your ink looks pretty solid. And you don't want to push hard, you want to just tap until it's covered with ink. And if you don't get a real solid image, it may be that your ink pad is running out of ink and needs a refill. So we're going to line that up, stamp it down, and remember, we're going to press firmly but not hard. Be firm but gentle. So there's our image. And then I have a little bit of a trick to show you, because around this, if you notice, these two images are exactly the same shape. So if you were to layer this on top of one, it wouldn't show up. You could layer it a little bit off to the side. You could offset it. But I wanted it to go kind of completely around. So what I did was I took my paper snips, and one of my images I cut in half from the top to the bottom, and the other image I cut in half from side to side. Now you'll find this little trick works with several of our label images if you want to kind of shadow your first image. And then what we're going to do is we're going to turn our stamped image over, and we're going to do one side at a time. So we're going to put a little bit of glue. Oops, that might have been a little too much. Along one side, and it doesn't matter which side you start with. And then we're going to line it up so that it sits just inside the other image. And we'll let that dry a little bit. And then we're going to turn it back over. And we're going to put a little bit of glue along the other side. And then I like to move that image around just because, I don't know, just because I like to always work on the same side, I guess. Maybe it's easier that way because I'm right-handed. I don't know. So if you're left-handed, you might want to go and glue the opposite direction first. So we'll let that dry a little bit. And then we're going to do the top and the bottom. So we'll put a little bit along the top. And I like to put a little bit along the edge of this one too, because they're going to overlap. So I'm going to turn it so that it's facing the way that's the most comfortable for me to put them together. And then you're just going to line that up so that it sits a little bit outside. And remember, with this liquid glue, you have just a little time to adjust it if it's not exactly where you want it to be. Okay, so then we have that side. And then we're going to put a little glue along the last edge. And along the inside edge of this one so that they'll overlap. We're going to turn it over and line it up. Oh, looks just a little crooked. There we go. And so then there's our label for the front. Oh, I think I scooted it just a little bit. And see how you can move it just a little, even now, because it's not too solid yet, but it's almost there. Okay, so now for our ice cream cones, let's see, hold on. I've cut some out early. All right, so I have 3. I'm going to use this one for the front. So I'll just put a little bit of glue on here and then add my ice cream. There we go. And this one I glued right on. I glued the ice cream right to the card. And well, let's see, this one I put on the other side, but I think I'm gonna put this one here just because the color of it stands out a little better this direction. And then I'm going to turn my stamped image over and add my Stampin' Dimensionals. And this image is a little bit smaller, so I'm probably not going to put one in the middle this time. Okay, and then let's see, 1, 2, 2. I have 3 cones. Here's my piece of white. And again, my piece of white is 1 inch by 11 inches. And then we're going to score it at 2 3/4. And then 5 1/2. and then 8 1/4. Then we're going to fold it up. Okay, and now we'll put it on the inside. So we'll do one side at a time here with our glue. I gotta scoot it up past that sticky spot on my grid paper. So a little glue around here. I got a little too much there, so I'm just gonna kind of smear it in. And then I'll line it up. So that it's mostly in the middle. I think it might be a little high, but that's okay. And then I'll glue it down a little bit to the inside, but right along the middle. And then put some glue on this side. And you could use this pattern with any designer series paper and stamp bundle you have, or even without design. You can make your own designer series paper using your stamp sets, or however you want to do it. So I have two, let's see, I have 2 ice creams punched out. I need to punch out one more ice cream. Top. And this down here looks like a great spot. Kind of looks like, I don't know, green and blue moon maybe. And then we'll put a little bit of, oops, I keep getting stuck on that little spot on my grid paper. A little glue on the top of our ice cream cones. And then we'll add our scoops to the top. Alright, and I'm just going to let them sit and dry for just a second. I'm going to stamp one more thing, because on the front of this one I stamped thank you, and then on the inside I stamped with sprinkles on top, and I really like that with sprinkles on top. So I'm going to get that out of my stamp set. And this is a great stamp set. It has happy birthday, treat yourself, you're so cool, you melt my heart, hope it's sweet, and with sprinkles on top. And there are also like fruit pop images. It's just really cute. Okay, so let me get the sprinkles. It's a great set for summer coming soon. Let's see if I can line it up on my block. Let's see. Yep, it looks like it's just gonna fit. And then I'll get my Stampin' Pierce mat out one more time. and ink up my stamp with my Memento Black, Tuxedo Black ink. And now with these littler words, you have to be even more careful, I feel like, than with the bigger images. So you just want to do lots of little taps and try to keep it nice and level. I think I need a little bit more right there on the end. Okay. Oops. Didn't sound very good, did it? All right, and then I'm just gonna hold that down so I can get it nice and in the center. There we go. And then I can use my Stampin' chamois, clean off my stamp. I'm gonna put my stamp back in its case real quick. Oh, I had it upside down. There we go. Now we're gonna add our ice cream cones, and then we are all finished with this card. So here are our Stampin' Dimensionals, and we're going to put one on each. Kind of in the center. Here we go. And then we will just stick them on our line. And there we have two really cute cards, perfect for summertime or springtime or anytime if you are a fan of ice cream. If you'd like to order the supplies to make these cards, please visit my shop on Facebook. If you'd like to get the supplies for free, then please place an order on my Stampin' Up! Website and use the host code X3P4EBUT. Thank you for joining me for this Stampin' Sunday video, and I hope to see you soon.